Concrete bungle, the MTR Corporation may need to tear up part of a platform slab at the Hung Hom Station extension for inspection. The House Committee of Legislature discusses if employees should have been fined for being late to work after Typhoon Mangkhut. And a pair of Catholic bishops from the Chinese mainland attend a major Vatican meeting for the first time after landmark agreement. Good evening. The MTR Corporation may have to tear up part of a new platform at Hung Hom Station to ensure it was built properly. This is because of concerns safety standards may have been compromised while steel bars were installed. Caleb Leung has details.
Tear up part of a new platform at Hung Hom Station to confirm that the structure is safe. That's what the MTR Corporation may have to do amid construction scandals surrounding the station. There are fears that the steel bars used to build the platform were cut short to disguise that they weren't screwed in properly. The transport chief says ripping up the platform would only be carried out if necessary.
We are not ruling out the need to open up the concrete slab. But whether or not we should do it depends on the outcome of MTR's investigation and their proposals to us.
Michael Tan, a lawmaker very familiar with the city's railways, says the government has accepted that part of the platform may need to be opened up under certain conditions.
The main structure of the platform will not be affected by this particular process of opening up the slab. And secondly, if it turned out to be a significant amount, what is the alternative solution other than demolishing the whole platform and starting over again?
Tian added that if 30 to 40% of the steel bars inspected were problematic, the whole platform may have to be rebuilt. This process may take 6 months to a year. Civil engineer Ngai Hock Yan has suggested using X-ray equipment to scan the station's concrete before tearing up part of the platform.
The penetration capacity is more effective, so probably you can identify the rebar location and the spacing for the top 2 or 3 layers of the rebars.
The scans could then be compared with the work plans to choose a location to tear up. The rail giant says it will listen to the advice of the government and experts and come up with an adequate proposal. Caleb Leung, TVB News.
The House Committee of the Legislative Council held a meeting to discuss the government's performance in dealing with the aftermath of Super Typhoon Mangkhut. Lawmakers expressed concerns over employees having to rush back to work right after the megastorm. Some have called for legislation to provide better protection for workers. Christy Leung with the details.
Rushing back to work on the day after Super Typhoon Mangkhut hit the city. Even when public transport was far from being back in full service. Still, some got penalized for being late or being unable to report for work. The Hong Kong Federation of Trade Unions surveyed 690 workers from different trades, including the catering and aviation industries. 1/5 of them had their wages or bonuses cut for not being able to arrive at work. Nearly 90% of the respondents think the government should have announced an official day off for workers. Chief Executive Carrie Lam explained earlier that there is no legal basis for her to declare a day off for all employees, which prompted the Civic Party to table a private bill.
Give legal power to the Chief Executive to call a state of disaster. More importantly, in fact, the focus of this bill is we empower employees. They don't have to go to work if they see fit, and that prohibits employers from penalizing employees from doing so.
During a special meeting of the Legislative Council on the government's work in the wake of the super typhoon, a lawmaker representing the industrial sector agreed.
How much time should be given to employees to go back to work please indicate a reasonable period of time. I think in Hong Kong we can have a piece of legislation and we respect the rule of law. And then if somebody has exceeded the reasonable period of time needed to go back to work, there should be some penalties.
咁所以呢啲考慮咧，實在係好複雜嘅。
Of course, we have to take care of the safety of individual employees. It is going to be a complicated matter, but it doesn't mean that we won't study the matter.
The Chief Secretary for Administration added the Security Bureau will look into the issue. Christy Leung, TVB News.
The government is introducing measures to support small and medium-sized enterprises in the city as the Sino-US trade war escalates. This includes enhancing the SME Financing Guarantee Scheme, which includes extending the application deadline for the 80% guarantee coverage from February to June next year.
First is, in fact, to raise the maximum loan amount from 12 million, the current ceiling, to 15 million. The second part is to extend the maximum loan period from currently 5 years to 7 years. This would mean the monthly repayment would be reduced immediately.
A female tutor was sentenced to 8 months in prison for assaulting a 10-year-old student. Chow Kin-ying was found guilty of 4 counts of ill treatment of a child by those in charge of a child or young person. The 32-year-old allegedly punched the boy in the face, sprayed detergent at him and slammed his head onto a table. The defense counsel noted the defendant did not plan the assault and later showed remorse for her actions. But Magistrate Matthew Leung said Chow had once lied to secure her job. Optometrists are calling on the public to watch out for unregistered medical staff performing eye checks and selling contact lenses at stores. Sharon Tang puts this story into focus for us.
Are you one of the 120,000 Hong Kong people who own a pair of these? That estimate was put forward today by 6 local optometric associations. In August, the group surveyed nearly 600 contact lens users, but found some 80% of them would not seek medical help if they ever feel uncomfortable. Experts warned that improper use of contact lenses may affect corneal health or even lead to undesirable eye diseases. Take blurry vision, for example. Professionals noted that many thought the condition was caused by dry eyes or the differences between refractive errors. However, experts say the problem is caused by the contact lenses being too tight, which may have to do with incorrect curvatures. Under current laws, only registered optometrists are allowed to prescribe, fit or supply prescription optical appliances. Offenders will be fined $5,000 and jailed for up to 6 months. Still, experts are calling on the government to introduce stricter regulations.
We would like to urge the government to change this one to prescribe the contact lens by optometrists only, but not all the others online shop or shops without a professional to prescribe these kind of medical devices.
The group also found 3 such shops in Mongkok where unregistered medical professionals offered eyesight checks to contact lens users. It says the illegal practice is a criminal offence and will report the cases to police. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
Turning overseas, Pope Francis opened a month-long gathering of the Catholic Church leadership by urging bishops to dream of a future free of the mistakes and sins of the past. This as 2 Chinese bishops attended the gathering for the first time since last month's landmark deal between Beijing and the Vatican. It was business as usual at the Vatican as Pope Francis kicked off the month-long synod on young people, faith and vocational discernment. This year the pontiff invited a pair of new participants to the advisory body. Today, for the first time, we also have with us 2 bishops from mainland China. We offer them our warm welcome. The attendance of Bishops Guo Jintai and Yang Xiaoting was the first tangible manifestation of the breakthrough deal reached between Beijing and the Vatican on September 22nd. Under the provisional agreement, the Pope will recognize 7 clergy initially ordained by Beijing without the Church's approval. It was an olive branch the Vatican couldn't refuse, as the deal finally gives it a say in the appointment of bishops in China. Critics have slammed the Holy See for selling out to the communist government. Hong Kong's Bishop Michael Yeung said yesterday the deal did nothing to soothe long-held church concerns over clerics in detention.
A provisional agreement could not solve all the problem, could not stop the suppression. The church still been tearing down, and the young folks under 18, they are not allowed to go to church.
This as China's approximately 12 million Catholics are split between an underground church swearing loyalty to the Vatican and the state-supervised Catholic Patriotic Association. The meeting of more than 300 church officials, outside experts and youth delegates takes place in the shadow of widespread sexual abuse of minors by priests in many countries. The pontiff highlighted the importance of including the youth in the Catholic Church and urged those in attendance to reverse situations of uncertainty, exclusion and violence to which our young people are exposed. Meanwhile, a group of self-identified abuse survivors staged a sit-in protest near the Vatican to draw attention to their plight. A separate protest saw around 24 women asking for women's voting rights at the synod. They say while half of the world's faithful are female, they do not have the right to vote in the synod due to gender discrimination. The U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee has received the FBI report on sexual misconduct allegations against U.S. Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. Lawmakers have a day to review the document before tomorrow's key procedural vote. Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley is expected to read the report first, while other lawmakers have to take turns reading it. But some may have to wait until tomorrow to read the sensitive papers, as time slots are filling up. The White House also confirmed it received the document. A spokesman said the administration was fully confident the Senate would approve Kavanaugh's nomination. In the U.S. state of South Carolina, 7 law enforcement officers were shot, one fatally, when a gunman fired on police from inside a home. It sparked a 2-hour siege in the city of Florence that ended with the suspect's arrest. Details of the shooting and how it ended remain sketchy. Police say several officers came under attack as they tried to serve an otherwise routine search warrant. A week after an earthquake and tsunami killed more than 1,400 people, life is on hold for thousands on the Indonesian island of Sulawesi. Desperate search efforts for survivors continue, but hope is running low. We get more from Alan Bookneer.
The Indonesian military continues to deliver much-needed aid and is evacuating the injured and families with young children. Several international aid agencies have also arrived to help. Indonesia's National Disaster Agency said the death toll will certainly rise. Rescue crews have now reached all affected areas. This man is hoping for a miracle that his wife, who's 6 months pregnant, will be found alive. Getting to the affected areas has been extremely difficult for rescuers because of the damage the 7.5 magnitude quake caused. In some areas, roads have risen by several meters, while the landscape collapsed by as much as 5 meters. Petobo, a village of 500 south of the city of Palu, was literally swallowed up by the quake. It was caused by ground liquefaction, which happens when soil shaken by an earthquake behaves like a liquid. Engineers are working around the clock to restore electricity infrastructure. Survivors whose homes were destroyed had little but uncertainty, unsure when they'll be able to rebuild. The aid is starting to trickle in, but it's still not enough, and there isn't enough fuel for generators. This man says his family did receive